Boudreaux. Our guest today is Sharon Clement. Sharon is the Executive Director of the Assist Agency in Acadia Parish. Sharon, welcome. It's good to have you here today.
It's nice to be here, Linda. Thanks for having me.
I think a lot of people are familiar with Assist, but just to kind of make sure we're all on the same page, what is the Assist Agency? What do you do?
Assist Agency is a private, nonprofit community action agency. We service the needs of the low-income families in Acadia, Vermilion, and Jefferson Davis Parish.
Oh, so you're 3 parishes.
3 parishes.
Okay,
yes.
so you cover quite a large area then,
Sure.
don't you? So what kind of programs do you have under the Assist Agency?
We have several programs. We do housing development, housing counseling, homeless shelter for women and children, daycare centers, child daycare centers. We do service clients with emergency situations like rent and utilities and food, prescription medicine, and some other things that I just can't think of right now. But
it's a long list.
Right, right.
Community action agencies have been around for a long time.
A very long time. I say very long time. At least Assist Agency has been around since 1967.
Wow, that's
so
a good
about
little
44
while.
years.
Yeah.
That's right.
So what is it about community action agencies? They were established for a reason.
They were established to combat poverty. Back in 1964, President Johnson, out of the OEO Act, started community action agencies to combat poverty in the nation. And there are over 42 agencies in the state of Louisiana, and over 1,000 agencies nationwide.
So they're still going strong.
They're still going strong.
And you would be for the Lafayette area. Smile would be your counterpart.
Right.
St. Martin Lafayette
Exactly.
area.
Right.
Community action agency. So I guess over all these years, your programming has changed some as the needs have changed, but poverty, I guess, is still the common denominator for everything.
Exactly. Each community action agency is unique in that the needs of the community determines which programs they provide.
Okay.
And those needs are determined by the needs assessments that we do annually.
Oh, you do one every year?
Yes.
So what needs have you discovered for Acadia, Vermilion, and Jeff Davis Parish?
Housing and jobs are
Those
high
are
on the
big
list, yes.
So what, as a nonprofit agency, can you do to help with those two things?
Well, that's why we started the daycare centers, to create jobs and also to provide a service. But we have some employees that we hire to work at the daycare centers, and we use in the construction of homes, we hire laborers and partner with developers to provide jobs.
Okay, so I want to back it up a little bit. But you are creating employment opportunities then for people.
Exactly.
What are your daycare centers? What are you doing with those?
Where are they?
Yeah, what are they? What do you do? These are for children, I'm imagining.
Sure, we provide child care services for infants through 12-year-olds, for working families, and it's a private, nonprofit daycare centers, but it operates on the tuition that we receive.
Okay, so it's self-supporting, self-sustaining.
Self-sustaining.
And
yes.
can anybody use it?
It's for the public and the private pay and state pay and drop-ins.
Okay. Where are your centers located?
Right now, we have a center open in Church Point, and we have one in Rain. There is one in Crowley and Abbeville, but they're not operating at this time.
Okay, are they like coming online down the road, or are they?
Yeah, as soon as enrollment picks up, they'll open up again.
Okay, so it's really about having the enrollment.
Right. Exactly.
When you run a daycare center, what kinds of things do you have to do in terms of having trained staff, getting staff trained? I'm looking at it from a staff development perspective here.
The center directors are certified. They either have a bachelor's degree or a CDA. The teachers or
A CDA, I'm sorry, is a
Child Development Associate degree.
Okay.
The teachers are usually high school. That's the criteria. I mean, they're trained. They do receive ongoing training.
Okay.
Yes, so they're qualified.
Okay, and that's important for parents who are going to put their kids into a daycare center.
Exactly.
So if you do like little ones to 12, so you must be doing all day and after school?
From 7 to 5:30, 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those children that are in public school or in school during the day, they can come for an after-school program?
After school, yeah.
Do you have
we
any
that.
special curriculum or anything that you do with the after-school kids?
They do. They have some online tutoring.
Good.
Yeah, and the teachers there help them with their homework after school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about programming and curriculum for those preschoolers? Anything special, or it's kind of getting the kids together doing?
There is a curriculum, Linda, but I can't
And
think
not
of it.
that you need to,
Right,
but I'm just kind of, I guess what I'm trying to establish, the point I'm trying to make, is that although this is a nonprofit daycare center that's run through a community action agency, the services are the same as they would be in any other daycare center.
Exactly.
And I think
Right.
that's a point that we want to make in case anybody might think that this would be like not as good a daycare center or something like that.
Right.
Okay.
That's correct.
And what about housing? What are you doing with housing?
We're developing rental properties with a for-profit developer. We partner with them to create jobs, like I said, and also to provide housing. It's for low-income families. Right now we have a development in Crowley, we have one in Rain, and we have one in Abbeville and Church Point. They're 4-bedroom, 3 and 4-bedroom homes, scatter site housing.
Great.
Yes, we have some apartment complexes in Welsh, in the Jeff Davis area, but the scatter site housing are the latest one that came up.
And I think that's really everybody's preference, don't you think? I mean,
Yeah.
people that are living in the houses probably like it better, and communities seem to like it better.
Yeah, they have their own yard and their
Yeah.
own space.
It's
you
their
know.
own home. You know?
That's right.
But these are big houses.
Yes, they are. 3 and 4 bedrooms. They come with all the appliances. They're on the city utilities. They have everything.
Wow, they sound pretty nice. Are these
They are
pretty
very
much
nice.
new houses, or are you
They're-
building houses now? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, and the complex I'm talking about is like 3 or 4 years old.
Okay. So what do people have to do to qualify for this housing?
They have to meet the income guidelines. It's for low to medium income families.
Okay. And so they would come to assist to do the application?
There's a manager on site
Okay.
where they can apply.
Okay. Do you have enough housing?
Never. It's never enough housing.
Ever enough.
No.
Never. That is such a need.
It is.
What are I'm thinking, because your parishes are pretty rural.
They are.
What are some of the special challenges you think to providing services in rural parishes?
Transportation is one problem for families to get to where the services are, because we don't have a transportation system at all. The support of your local governing bodies is important, and we have a pretty good relationship with our police bureaus and our city government. So the challenges, they're not that great. The challenges is getting the funding from the federal government and the state government.
Is that where most of your funding comes from, the federal government?
Yes.
And it's targeted to specific programs and projects, I would imagine.
Right. Exactly.
So what is, I guess, HUD, or is HUD providing the funding?
HUD is one of our funders.
Okay.
Community Services Block Grant is another one. We get United Way funding. We get another funding comes from local donors and foundations.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have a grant writer on staff? Because I mean, this is no easy thing to be seeking money all the
Sure.
time, and these are big programs, and these are big ticket items that you're talking about. Building housing
Yes.
is not cheap.
No, it's not. We have a couple of grant writers on staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody is looking for housing, is there a waiting list?
Yes, there's always a waiting list.
And that's really
because
part of
there's
the
not enough
problem.
housing.
That's
Exactly.
part of the problem.
That's right.
Where are you, and your housing is located again in Rain?
Rain, Church Point, Abbeville, and Crowley.
Okay, how do you decide where you're gonna put them?
It's not easy because this land is so scarce. And we're always looking for property that's not in a flood zone, and with the new flood maps, it's hard to find. So fortunately, the ones we build now is before the new flood maps came out. So
I see, so that's gonna make a difference then.
Yeah.
The stuff you don't even think about ahead of time, huh,
Exactly,
Sharon?
that's right.
What are some other programs that you have through the Assist agency? Because I know it's a multifaceted
Yeah, we have a
agency.
homeless shelter for women and children.
And what is that all about?
It's an emergency shelter. They stay up to 90 days, but they can stay longer depending on their circumstances. But people who are evicted from their homes or because of losing their jobs or their houses have been foreclosed upon, or if they lose their homes because they can't pay the rent, then those are the people who end up in our homeless shelter.
Okay, and this is
Yeah.
for women and children?
Women and children.
And I guess we need to make the point that this is not a domestic abuse shelter. This is for women and children that are homeless for other
Exactly.
reasons.
Right. Mhm.
And are there any services available to them while they're living there to help them get back on their feet?
Yeah, our coordinator is helping them with job skills,
Okay.
and she connects them with all the services in the area. They do mental health mental health counseling,
Okay.
and there's several programs that she's real good at.
To help people kind of get what they need to be able to
Right.
move forward.
They're connected to jobs in the area. They do job training. So, they don't just come to the shelter and live there. They have to prepare to be independent at some point.
Because you know what, 90 days goes by real fast,
Right.
especially when you're in a crisis, you know.
Exactly.
So you need to be busy and keep moving.
That's right.
When you look at your parishes and when you look at your communities, and when you look at how poverty plays into it, what do you think some of those causes of poverty are? And in terms of just kind of working with the root causes, what do you think we're looking at?
It's hard to say, Linda.
'Cause I know
Not
there-
having enough jobs, available jobs, is one of
Yeah.
the reasons that poverty is so. I think if there were jobs, more people would be more self-sufficient and not dependent upon the services that we provide. But and not just jobs, you have to have the job training, the skills for the job.
And the job has to pay enough to live.
That's
You know,
right.
you can't be
Mhm.
working minimum wage 2 days a week and
Exactly.
think that you're going to survive.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So it's all hooked together then, job development, education,
Mhm.
employment, self-sufficiency, all of those things are
That's
kind of
right.
hooked. And I know that you said that you receive United Way funding, and United Ways are funding differently now in order
Mhm.
to begin to address those core.
Right. They're funding our essential needs program, which is emergency services for rent and utilities. They used to fund our homeless program, but that that's been cut out. So.
Yeah. What happens with your essential needs program? Who does that serve and what does that do for them?
It's more or less a homeless prevention type service. It's keep a person in their home. If they have a disconnect notice on their utilities, it's to keep their utilities on. If they have an eviction notice for their rent, it's to keep their rent paid. It's a one-time assistance that we provide to try to keep them in their home and not go into a shelter.
Okay. But it's just one time, so people have to have other resources in place. Because
Exactly.
it can't be like every month you're paying my rent for me,
That's right. Mm-hmm. And then we connect those people to other services in the community like Section 8 or low-income housing or public housing.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So you have do a lot of that information and referral piece within the community as well.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How is Section 8 and public housing and your housing, how are they different?
With Section 8, you can use your voucher to live in any house that passes inspection or that's approved or the landlord agrees to lease through the Section 8 program. With public housing, you live in an apartment with the housing authority.
And what about your houses? How do the ones that you have, are they rented or are you people
They're
buying
rented.
them?
No, the house is rented. Then you can use a Section 8 voucher to live there.
Okay, so your
Yeah.
houses fall within that Section 8 category.
Exactly. Mhm.
You've just simply decided to build them rather than have, say, somebody else in the community take a house that they have and let.
There
or
was
in
a
addition
shortage
to-
of houses in the community to begin with, so
Okay.
that's why we decided to build homes.
Now I'm getting it.
Okay.
Okay, it takes me a minute, but I'll get it.
Okay.
But, and that makes sense because there's just not a lot of construction going on in those
Exactly.
parishes.
That's right.
So you found a private developer to work with you, is that right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how is that partnership working out?
It's great. It's working out great.
What about job training? Are you training carpenters, builders, plumbers, electricians? How
Now
does all
the
that fit in?
developers, they hire their own crew,
Okay,
labor crew, so we don't have to do any training.
okay. But then again, it's still providing jobs and
Yes.
opportunities. So you provide housing and job opportunities for people within your community.
That's correct.
Is that kind of like the long-range goal of community action agencies, to try to find ways that they can sustain communities and people within communities to rise above the poverty level?
That's it. That's exactly it. Mm-hmm.
So how successful do you think, not just you and your community, but we as a country are in fighting poverty these days?
Poverty is ongoing because the faces of poverty changes every year, every day. You know, it's the people we used to see as people are poor now because there are no jobs, and they're homeless because they're being foreclosed upon and evicted. In the past, it was a different type of situation. You know, they were homeless people were considered just those living under bridges and in boxes and in cars, but now homeless is considered you living in substandard housing, that's homeless. So it's different now. It's a different type of poverty.
And maybe a more insidious type of poverty.
Right.
Because is there still, do you think, a lot of stigma attached to it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What about education? How does education fit into all of this? Educational opportunities? Do you see any kind of relationship?
Education is a big part of it because we find that a lot of our clients don't know anything about budgeting. They don't, and we do have classes, financial literacy classes for those clients.
I was wondering about that.
Right, and we do home buyers education for those who wants to, those potential home buyers who want to purchase a home. That's through United Way. We partner with United Way to do that. Okay. So education is a big part.
And in terms of helping people to gain the knowledge, then it's just to hope that they can find a job and a house, huh?
Yeah.
So it's the resources
Yes.
too.
Mm-hmm.
And what else is going on in Vermilion? Do you find differences between Acadia, Vermilion, and St. Jeff Davis Parish in terms of what the needs are of each parish?
The needs are pretty much the same, but they all rural areas, and like I said, the biggest need that I see is transportation, housing, and jobs.
What are y'all doing anything about transportation?
The transportation right now is being handled through the councils on aging. They only do medical transportation and maybe transportation to jobs, but not like shopping. I don't think they do that. But there's no other transportation that I'm aware of.
Are there any grants out there that you might be looking at to kind of help? Because I know Smiles had their transportation program for a long time, and I think it's been a successful one. Is that something that might work for you guys over there?
Yeah, we have been looking into grants, but then again, you need the support of your local governing bodies. And if they're not in favor of it, then you don't get it.
What about aging? Do you all work with the aged at all, with the elderly populations?
Yeah, we've been, a lot of our elderly clients have been coming to us for medical assistance, prescription medicine assistance, help with their Part D applications, and a lot of them need utility assistance.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. So what kind of work are you doing with prescription assistance?
We partner with pharmaceutical companies to get their prescription medicine at no cost if they don't have any health insurance.
Okay, and how does that work?
Well, they have to bring us through verification of their income and verification that they don't have a Part D or another health insurance coverage. And we apply to the pharmaceutical companies. And the pharmaceutical companies determine their eligibility and send their prescriptions directly to their doctor where they pick them up from.
Okay. And this whole prescription pharmaceutical program has been really a big boon to making medication available to older adults or
Exactly.
to low-income adults.
That's correct.
And again, the medicine has to go to the doctor because that distribution of the medicine is an issue, right?
Exactly.
You can't mail it right to your house. You got to pick it up somewhere. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And what about what do y'all do with Part D? For those who were watching who may not know, Part D Medicare is what?
Part D Medicare is it pays for prescriptions. And I think in the beginning, everyone thought that it was mandatory that they had Part D, and I don't think that's the case today.
I don't think so.
No.
But if you don't, you're going to pay for your meds.
We try to help the clients see whether there are different plans that they can apply to, and where one might fit into their budget. So that's our role in it. We just try to let them know, determine whether or not they can afford it.
Okay, so basically it's kind of to consult and work with them because it's very confusing.
It is.
There's just a lot of stuff out there, and most of it is marketing information.
That's true.
So somebody's just trying to sell you their product.
That's right.
It's really hard to go through all that to see what's really going on and what's really going to work for you.
Exactly.
So somebody can come to you, somebody on your staff, and they can kind of get some guidance and direction on how to make a wise decision.
That's correct.
Okay, which is another valuable program. What about heating and cooling bills and help with utilities? Because I know community action agencies across the country have really helped with a lot of that, and winter's coming. So are you able to help?
Yeah, we had a program called Homeless Prevention and Rapid Rehousing. It was funded through HUD, and the funds have just run out on that. But as long as there was monies in the LAHEAP program, we could not help with the utilities. So when LAHEAP doesn't have any money, we're able to help the clients with their utilities. They had to have a disconnect notice, and it had to be part of their lease, where if they didn't have utilities, they would be evicted from their homes.
So with when those conditions are all met, then you used to be able to help, but now the money ran out.
Right, exactly.
And isn't that frustrating?
It is.
You know, when
it
you
is.
have something and it's working and it's meeting a need,
Mm-hmm.
and people are used to coming to you for it, and then the money stops.
That's correct.
And I guess you've been through that a lot over the years, huh, Sharon?
Oh,
you get something
yes.
up in the air, it's a good program, and then it's no longer
That's
funded.
true. That's true.
Do you have offices in all three parishes?
We have an office in Crowley and Jennings and Abbeville, and we have a homeless shelter in Crowley.
Okay, and I guess you're pretty accessible to the communities. People pretty much know where you are, but just maybe our viewing audience isn't too aware. So where are you in Abbeville?
At 407 Charity Street,
Okay.
right across from the library.
Okay, and in Crowley?
In Crowley, we're at 11 North Parkinson in the Crowley Enterprise Center. And in Jennings, we're at 311 North State Street in
Okay.
Ziegler Annex Building number 2.
And those have been pretty stable locations for y'all for over
Yes,
the past
we've been
few
there
years.
a long time.
What do you think people need to know about, not just about community action agencies, because they have a specific, I think, role to play in our community, but just about poverty and about hope, I guess, in terms of, when you've been beaten down for a long time, it's really hard to even have very much optimism. But what do people need to know just to be able to kind of keep pushing forward, so to speak?
They need to know that we're there to help them, that I don't think we're going to go anywhere soon.
Not now.
No. And if they need help, they can always call us.
And it's okay, huh? I mean,
That's
you're not
right.
sitting there judging them, saying that they're bad people.
Exactly.
It can have, anybody can have a crisis.
Exactly.
And I think that's part of what the United Way is looking at too, is anybody can have a crisis, it's okay. And
That's
there's
true.
help.
Mm-hmm.
And any programs that you would like to see expanded in the next year or two?
Our homeless program.
That's a big.
Yes, we're looking at applying for a grant to build a new shelter because our request for shelter has been extremely high lately. I don't know if that's because there's an overflow in other shelters or because of the economy, because of people losing their jobs, but we've been getting a lot of requests, and we're hoping to expand our facilities.
So there's no room in the inn right now?
No room in the inn right now.
Okay. Well, I hope you're able to do that within the next year, especially as, seasons change and we hate to see people homeless.
Hopefully.
When it's cold outside, and I didn't realize that your parish just had a lot of homeless. I thought they were more urban, but
do.
it's everywhere, isn't it?
We get calls every day.
Okay. Well, is there anything you want to add before we close for today?
I think if if you want me to give a phone number,
Yeah, give us this number.
our main number is 337-788-7550, extension 138.
And that's how you're going to meet Sharon or her staff. Sharon, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
today.
Linda.
And thank you for watching The Extra Mile.